A very good morning, class 8. Today we'll talk about chemical properties of metals and non-metals. I hope now physical properties of metals and non-metals are clear to you. So you must have written in your notebook also the way I have told you that what are the things you are going to write. Metals, the different types of metals, its physical properties, non-metals, the name of the non-metals and its physical properties. But today our main topic is chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So generally all the metals usually show similar chemical properties, but their reactivities depend upon their nature and reaction conditions. So metals are different from non-metals, that we already know, depending upon their chemical properties. So let's begin with. So the first property of here we'll talk about the reaction with oxygen, that how metals react with oxygen. And whenever a metal react with oxygen, it always going to form a metal oxide. Metal oxide which are basic in nature. Alright, on the basis of this we are having this activity on the basis of this. That what are the activity to prove that if metal oxide is produced and it is basic in nature. So the first one, what we are going to do is, let us check the nature of rust formed as a result of the reaction between iron, oxygen and water. So collect a spoonful of a rust and dissolve it in a very little amount of water, and you will find that the rust remains suspended in water. Shake the suspension well and test the solution with red and blue litmus paper. What do you observe? Is the solution acidic or basic in nature? So what we are going to observe, that you must have observed that the red litmus turns blue. If the red litmus turns blue, it usually shows that the nature of that solution is basic in nature. So the oxide of magnesium which you have collected and dissolved in water, it is basic in nature. So generally metal oxides are basic in nature. So now you come to know that what is this activity behind, why we are performing this activity. Just to know that the oxides which is been after reaction with metal, the nature of that solution is basic in nature. The oxides, the metallic oxides are basic in nature. So when an iron object is left in a damp air, you know it, or a moisture for considerable time, it gets covered with a reddish brown and flaky substance. That is what we call it a rusting of iron, and that rust we have taken out. Alright. So the next activity is with the non-metals. Alright, so I have already given you the example of non-metals. So one of it is sulfur. This is how a sulfur looks. This experiment, if you would have been in school, we would have done this experiment also. So what we are going to do is, take a small amount of powdered sulfur in a deflagrating spoon and heat it. If that spoon is not available, you may take a metallic cap of any bottle and wrap a metallic wire around it. As soon as sulfur starts burning, now what you're going to do, in that cap you're going to put that sulfur inside it, and you'll cover that jar, whatever that put that in a metallic cap, okay, a little quantity of sulfur, and you put it inside a jar. Alright, introduce the spoon into a gas jar or gas tumbler. Cover the tumbler with a lid to ensure that the gas produced does not escape. So remove the spoon after some time, and after a small quantity, add small quantity of water in the tumbler, which usually consists of that gas which has been produced after burning the sulfur, and quickly replace the lid. Shake the tumbler well, check the solution with red and blue litmus paper, the way we have done it with the metals. What we are going to observe, this is how it's a deflagrating spoon here. It is there in your book also. Let me tell you your page number where it is mentioned. It is in page number 47. Activity number 4.4 and activity 4.3 we have discussed. Activity 4.4 is this. And what we are going to observe is, let's see. Observation is the name of the product formed in the reaction of sulfur and oxygen is sulfur dioxide gas. Alright. When you have burned that sulfur in the presence of oxygen, it will going to produce the gas sulfur dioxide gas. When that sulfur dioxide gas which was inside the glass tumbler is dissolved in the water, what it will going to form? It will going to form a sulfurous acid. So this is the reaction which is given here. That sulfurous acid turns blue litmus paper red. Please remember this. The sulfurous acid which turns blue litmus paper red, generally these oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. Please understand the difference between it, that the metal, whenever reacts with oxygen to form a metal oxide, it will going to form what will be the nature? Its nature will be basic in nature. But in case of what? Non-metals reacts with oxygen to form acidic oxides. So this is the difference, one difference between your metals and non-metals in terms of chemical properties. The fifth part, the B part, is reaction with water. Let us see how metals and non-metals react with water. So this is a picture of a sodium, students. As we have talked about, that sodium is a very soft metal which can be cut with the knife. So you can see it here in the picture. So sodium metal is very reactive and it reacts vigorously with oxygen and water. A lot of heat is generated in the reaction, so it is therefore stored in kerosene. So the activity which we are going to perform here, it is there in page number 48 of your book, activity 4.5. If you would have been in school, the same reason I'm telling you, that we would have performed in laboratory this reaction. So take a 250 ml of beaker in glass tumbler, fill half of it with water, and now carefully cut a small piece of sodium metal, dry it using a filter paper and wrap it in a small piece of cotton. Put the sodium piece wrapped in cotton into the beaker and observe it carefully. What you're going to observe? When reaction stops, touch the beaker, what do you feel? Has the beaker become hot? Test the solution with red and blue litmus paper. Is the solution acidic or basic nature? So what we are going to observe, students, that you observe that that sodium reacts vigorously with water, that we have already talked about. Some other metals do not do so. For example, iron reacts with water slowly. Generally, non-metals do not react with water, though they may be very reactive in air. Such non-metals are stored in water. So for example, phosphorus is a very reactive non-metal. It catches fire if exposed to air. Phosphorus being non-metal, okay. So to prevent the contact of phosphorus with atmosphere oxygen, it is stored in water. So can you see this difference which we are talking about here with reaction with water and how they are kept in a particular substances? Alright. So let's talk about the activity. What we are going to observe, that we have talked about, that sodium will react vigorously with water and at the same time melts to form a silvery white ball. It will going to form a silvery white ball. The silvery white ball of sodium darts over the surface of water with a hissing sound. It will going to produce a hissing sound, producing tiny bubbles of hydrogen gas. So the silvery white ball gradually becomes smaller in size and catches fire. It burns with a golden yellow flame. The solution becomes totally hot, and this is because the heat is evolved in this reaction, melts the sodium metal, and the hydrogen gas produced during the reaction catches fire. And after this reaction, when you're going to touch the container, it is hot because the heat is evolved. After this reaction, if the solution is tested with blue and red litmus paper, the red litmus paper turns blue. This shows that the solution is basic in nature. Alright. So the chemical reaction I'll send you later. So metals such as gold, silver and platinum are quite unreactive due to this property. They are used in making ornaments, decorative items and coins that you know. So platinum is used in making alloys, electrical gadgets and international standards of weights and measures that you already know. And if we talk about non-metals that we have already done, non-metals do not react with water or steel. Alright, so one non-metals that we have already talked about is phosphorus, which is a very reactive non-metal, and it usually catches fire when it is exposed to air. So please note down this. This is very important. Note it down in your book, this one. So this much we have talked about the chemical reaction, and I think reaction with acid is also there. So reaction with acid is metal react with acid to form their respective salts and hydrogen gas. This reaction I'm going to send you later. And till here you just revise it and read it from your book. And the difference between the chemical properties of metal and non-metals, we'll discuss it later. Thank you students, and please read your book and activity. Thank you so much.